By Scotland!
Throughout the centuries, many tribes and armies have marched through Annandale in southwest Scotland. Today, the Vikings are back, and they're gathering with the French Vikings, well, more commonly known as the Normans. Now, this is supposed to be a friendly gathering, but I understand that there are some prickly characters here, so it could get a bit feisty.
So I'm Steve, or Bjorn Ironbelly. This is predominantly the Galloway Longfhada. So we're a Dark Age Viking reenactment group. We're part of a large society called the Vikings. Doing shows pretty much all over the place. We do smaller ones like this. We do really big ones as well. We're called majors. Ourselves, so originally we were part of the Glasgow Vikings, and we sort of split off and we became our own entity, so the Galloway Longfhada. We've been this now for about 7 years now. So basically what we're here to do is two things. One is we have our living history village. If you just have a wee look around there, so we have these tents and displays. So the tents we use are all based on finds and sort of scriptures or drawings that were from the time period. So we've got the Getheld style tent, which is more to a Saxon, to the A-frame tents, which are predominantly more Viking. We try and keep it as aesthetic as possible, so all the garments we wear, the colouring are all based on what we know they would have had access to, or try and keep everything as like all the jewellery is all based on archaeological finds. So yeah, so things like that. Things like the belt buckles with the strap ends as well. So obviously some of the jewellery, even some of the sword hilts, obviously the hilt, the sword, the weapon, all that sort of thing. So yeah, so chainmail wise, obviously, so this is more what you see in the Viking period. This is what we call riveted mail. So what you have is solid punched out rings. So it's like they're all hammered flat, and the open ones, we had hammered flat, hole punched through with a little rivet. That gives it unparalleled strength. Because they're flat, and it also means it's a lot lighter. So this probably weighs about half as much as a butted one like I'm wearing, which is not totally right for our period. So this is quite heavy, it's very easy to rip and open up. This is not, weighs half as much, and it's probably 4 times as strong. What's great at the chainmail is the way it moves. It's like material. So when you hold it like this, all the rings are close together. So it's a bit of tight of my arm. But if I hold that still on my finger and then lift it out, so you can only build it one way. You have to build it so it goes out the way. But when you wear it, it sucks into your body. So it helps carry the weight, so as you move, expand, it moves with you. So even if you make it slightly too big, it tends to fit.
That is still really heavy.
That's like,
I would not want to carry that all day.
It's still going to be about 6-7 kilos.
Spreads out over your body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, mine is t-shirt shaped, and that's more what earlier Viking period would wear. They wouldn't have excess, they would just build what needed. But also, because I do cavalry, as I sit on horseback, you wouldn't want the extra long skirting up. Later periods usually have a V shape to allow you to go, obviously, split around.
If you went through an airport scanner, you'd have trouble.
Yes.
Far end over there, we've got leather workers, we've got a tavern with games, we've got a kitchen that's cooking away, we've got a forge, we also have like textile, we have all sorts of different crafts and go on. And as well as that, obviously, we're Vikings, so we like to fight and do stuff that we shouldn't be doing. Generally, we fight with a range of different weapons, so ranging from sort of knives, swords, axes, spears, really big spears, even bigger axes, sometimes missile weapons, well, like your bows and arrows, slings. So it's quite a range of stuff we do. Obviously, we do this as a fun, it's a hobby, a very expensive hobby, but it's a lot of fun and very, very rewarding.
So, with Historia Normannis, we're a living history and reenactment group, mainly focusing on the 12th century. So, it's a period that's not as well known in Scottish history. It's not really an area we focus on. It's more well known in the rest of the UK, predominantly in England. You think of things like Magna Carta, the Wars of the Anarchy, even things like the Crusades. Robin Hood, obviously a fictional character, but one very much based in the events of the 12th century. It's not something we really focus on in Scotland because, well, And the focus is on the wars of independence later on, you know, Robert the Bruce, William Wallace, the Commons, the Balios. But for me the 12th century is fascinating because this is when these families come to Scotland. This is the, you know, the birth of the lords, the knights, the castles. Most of our towns were officially founded in the 1100s, in the 12th century. So it's a formative period, you know, for Scotland. So most of our groups are, they're based largely around sort of university groups. We've got a few more community focused groups as well. It just goes back to the way we were kind of set up initially. Usually people sort of come together, they're trained once a week, so we have a competitive kind of combat style. So whenever you see our members fighting, it's all safe, it's all trained, but it's a competitive style. There's no scripting there. It's all about who's got the skill. We also make everything we wear, you know, it's all crafted in-house because most of these things you can't buy it for love nor money. Throughout the year we're always training and just spending time together, and I think that's why we're a UK-wide organisation but very close-knit. You know, those friendships, those relationships are built not only year after year but from week to week. It's a lovely thing to be part of, you know.
Galloway are fighting Carlisle. So after 3 fights, a victory for the men of Carlisle. Not entirely popular on this side of the border.
Alpha! Alpha!
It's called a symphony. So it's like an early form of a hurdy-gurdy. There's a wooden wheel here. So the handle is turning the wheel. So the handle turns the wheel. This is cotton. I think they probably would have used something similar in period because it's originally from Spain, and that then allows it to kind of pick up rosin to vibrate the strings. So these two are drone strings. So this is a G and this is currently in C. I can use the tuning pegs there to change the mode that it's in, so I can play more like dramatic, sad sounding songs rather than happy ones. So currently it's G, C, G, and then the top G is the melody string. So each of these pegs, they get pushed in, and then that's how I...
I'm frying up some onion and kale and also doing some bits of venison. Then we've also got some lamb and some nice thin steaks to cook later as well.
This is a vegetarian pottage, and that's going to be pork pottage with crackle and pork. Currently we're just waiting for them to sort of come to boil, so I'm just keeping the fire going and stirring. We'll be putting the pork into that lovely mixture, which is, I believe, a curd that was made earlier.
So my name is Alexandra de Percy. I portray a noble lady from the north of England, and I'm visiting Annan today. You'll see that we eat really, really well at the events that we do, and that's because a lot of our members have researched into the food that they would have had in the 12th century. Now, it really varies depending on where you were in society. If you were a tenant farmer or a cotter working on your lord's land, you'd have a lot of local natural sources. Your diet would most likely consist of a lot of pulses, grains, vegetables, such as carrots and onions, and you would most likely have a rolling pottage in your eating area. It would keep cooking away, and every day you'd throw more in it. As you go up through society, you tend to see more processed food and richer things. So for example, you might see a white bread, which would have to be have more processed flour to get that lovely white bread colour. And then the richer lords and ladies would have meats, and the rich lords and ladies also love to import things to impress their friends. So you might import almonds or apricots and have spices such as cinnamon, cardamom and pepper. So if you could invite your friends for dinner, sit them down with some meat, spiced vegetables and a glass of French wine, which they loved, you were doing quite well.
Every summer we have a History Town festival featuring several events, and today we're delighted to have the Battles of the Century featuring Normans and Vikings visiting us and causing a bit of mayhem.
Historia
If you are willing to fight the Vikings in our tug of war in 5 minutes, please gather here by me.
I got another one. I'll give you a hug for doing well.
I have such admiration for the two groups that I've met today. It's all about attention to detail. Everything is authentic. Well, except for the bloodshed. Nobody died today. If you've enjoyed this film, then please subscribe.
Aye, Scotland!